With the resurgence of Bub Carrington and Tre Johnson starting to come along here in his rookie season, I think it's finally time to see that be your backcourt duo for the Washington Wizards the remainder of the way.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, you are locked on to the Washington Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you, of course, by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Alongside the DC Sports content, creating some Abdullah Ayubi. I'm Ben Strober, and I cover the Washington Wizards for Roundtable IO. AB, how's it going?
Doing good. Hopefully, don't sound too loud. Reviewed the footage of last night. I really apologize for that, guys. This will be the last time. I know I said it a couple of times. The last time we'll have production issues. And talking about the Wizards today, Con Knipple versus Corey Kispert. I remember not too long ago, people thought they were the same player coming out of the draft. And I said, hey, that's not true. But, hey, I'm just a dummy.
Yeah, we're going to get that matchup tomorrow. So that's a little bit of a tease for you of someone that is coming off the injury report for tomorrow's game. So love to see that. Going to see some other key pieces come back as well. We'll break that down for you in the third and final segment as we get you geared up for Wizards and Hornets tomorrow in Charlotte. We're going to play a game of buy or sell in the second segment, but let's start things off with the main topic in today's video. Massive resurgence in the last 6 or so games for Bub Carrington. Yesterday, Tre Johnson ties his career high with 19 points. He's starting to look more comfortable than we've seen him throughout his rookie season. And I think at this point in the season, where you've been as an organization, I know CJ McCollum has had those super high moments, including the multiple 40-plus point performances for this teams. But Bub and Tre is the backcourt I would like to see the remainder of the way. Now, do I think that really happens before the trade deadline? Based on how the Wizards have been with these veteran players, such as CJ McCollum, such as Jordan Poole in the past, and then Chris Middleton as well, and just how they typically have handled veterans in these situations, you probably don't see it until after the trade deadline. But I think there's no reason you shouldn't at this point right now. With the way Bub has played over these last 6 games, he's now averaging 17 points over the last 6 games after only averaging 6.5 through the first 21 games. Assist total up by 1.5. Rebound total up by 1.2. His stock total has actually risen by 50% as well, up to 1 per game. And the turnover percentage is down for Bub Carrington. Tre Johnson as well coming along in a big way for this Wizards team. That needs to be the backcourt that you prioritize the rest of the way, because you got to see what you can establish with those two, AB.
And those numbers are great as of recently. And this is what we were hoping for. You realize in Bub Carrington that you're having not ideally, but you were noticing a sophomore slump. And then you see recently how he's been playing. You got to give credit where credit is due, because a lot of people are writing this kid off in his second year, which is insane to me. And one trait that I love about Bub Carrington is that he's able to play. And you can't say that for much of these young Wiz kids as of recently. We're getting a lot of troops back against Charlotte, so that'll fix that up. But going back to Bub, I love how he's playing. And going to Tre, Ben, that shot that he made in the corner, I think it was coming straight from one court, baseline to baseline, corner 3, stops on a dime and nothing but net. Not many players in the league can do that, and he's doing that as a rookie. With those two, I want to see more of them, but like you mentioned, CJ McCollum is definitely going to get an ample amount of minutes, because we know Brian Keefe loves his vets. And Bub Carrington, the idea of him being a point guard here in DC, I mean, the draft capital or the draft pick that you're going to have coming up, we'll see. Boozer, DeBonza, Peterson. But Bub Carrington and Tre Johnson, I think, are going to be really good cornerstone pieces for this franchise. And I want to see a lot of them, especially in the second half of the season, because some of these guys will be dealt.
I think it's really important that these guys are on the floor together a lot because of how effective they can be shooting the basketball. Over the last 7 games where Bub has had that super efficient performances where he's made these strides offensively. The shooting splits, field goal percentage at 49%, 43% from behind the arc, 70% from the free throw line. So the free throw line's actually been kind of the weakest part for Bub Carrington. We saw him miss a couple yesterday, but albeit he's been shooting the three ball at an elite level this season, which has stuck out in a big way because at one point his 2-point field goal percentage was so low, but the 3-point percentage was so far up there, and you're just kind of like, it's so odd for a guy who's shooting with pretty low efficiency to be this efficient from the outside, but that's the kind of player that Bub Carrington is because he's always going to be one of the best shooters on this team. Tre Johnson you drafted because he's supposed to be the best player in terms of shooting the basketball from that 2025 draft class. You get a ton of impact from those two guys. You combined for 7 threes yesterday from the two of them alone, and that can help you out in a big way. And I know the goal isn't obviously to win these games, but you're trying to see meaningful development. You want to see the team compete a little bit more. Do the math, 7 3-pointers, that's 21 points that you're creating from those two players alone, probably on any given night, because I think if you give Tre the amount of minutes that he should be playing, if he is starting over McCollum or playing at least 30 minutes, you have Bub playing 30 to 35 minutes the way he has been, you're going to see both of them probably make 3 to 4 3-pointers on a given night if they're getting the attempts that they should, because neither one of those guys should be afraid to let it go from deep, and both of them can knock it down at a pretty efficient rate. And if you think of the way the Wizards have shot the basketball from the 3-point line overall, they haven't been too bad as a team just shooting the basketball when it comes to the percentages from the outside. If you just look at the overall percentages for this Washington Wizards team, they are shooting it. Let me get it up here on the 3-point percentage. There we go. I almost had the attempts up there for a second. They are currently right in the middle of the pack at 36%. So that's down a little bit from a few weeks ago. They were around 39%. It's dropped down a little bit. They weren't overly great from 3 yesterday. But it's a big part of their game is the way they get it done from the outside. They're a young and fast team. They like to play with pace. They like to push and transition. So the 3-point game is an important part of that. And Bub and Tre are both excellent players in the 3-point transition game. Those guys need to be on the floor together more than we've seen already, especially in these last couple weeks.
And it just goes to show, Ben, that the first 20 games of the season when it comes to Bub, it was a confidence issue. We know that he has the talent. And it looked like he was overthinking the turnovers. They were very concerning. However, as of recently, the quick decision-making, the ability to shoot the ball mid-range, the 3-point shot, getting to the free throw line, want to see more of that and want to see an increase of his free throw percentage. And with Tre Johnson, I understand there's a lot of rookies right now balling out, and you can talk about, the Wizards should have taken Jeremiah Fears or the Wizards should have drafted Derek Queen, which I was saying. But Tre, when he's healthy, he can go out there and produce, and we saw that last night. And ideally, moving forward, we don't want to see injuries riddling this kid because rookie season, it's a lot for a young kid, especially for a kid that we expect to be a guy who can average 20 to 25 points here. Just be patient with these guys. And moving forward, I think with these two, and maybe you get a veteran in the offseason that's a pure point guard, help with development because McCollum and Middleton ideally will be gone by then. We'll just have to see how that pans out. I think they're a young, two bright spots here in D.C., and they're the backcourt position. And we all know about the backcourt because we grew up watching Bradley Beal and John Wall. And maybe they won't live up to them, but when it comes to the potential, there's something there that they're scratching.
Yeah, I think both of these guys can have a super effective long-term impact here in the organization, whether Bub and Tre are the backcourt for the foreseeable future on a playoff team remains to be seen. There's plenty of time and plenty of development that needs to occur beforehand. But legitimately, like Tre Johnson is a guy that I already feel like he solidified himself as one of the core players for this team. He's going to be your 2 guard of the future. Bub, you like to see him playing in his more natural position, the way he has been the last couple weeks. The turnover to assist ratio has gotten better for Bub in this 7-game run, 3-1 comparatively, where he was turning the ball over a lot through the first 21 games of the season. It's to be expected. Young guards are notoriously up and down. It's part of the process of learning the position, especially everyone we've talked to about Bub Carrington, and even John Wall said it himself about the Wizards' young core and Bub Carrington. He said learning how to play point guard at 20 years old is one of the hardest things you can do in the sport. And I feel like the game is starting to slow down a little bit for Bub. He's getting better at making those reads. He's getting better at making the quick decision to pull that three from the top of the key. Just looking at the film from last night, I think back to one play where Champagny kind of sets him a decoy screen on Stephon Castle. Bub takes it to the left side and has just a second of separation from about 3 feet behind the line, and he quickly makes the decision to pull it from that spot. That's a hot zone for him, and he knocks it down. That's just the kind of confidence you're seeing from Bub in his game that's different than it was through the first 21 games of the season. And I think the way he's playing, Tre can feed off that in a way because the Wizards are starting to utilize him a little bit better than we saw through the first 15 games of his career while he was playing hurt. We saw a lot of Tre Johnson get you the basketball. Can you get to your spot? Can you score off the bounce? At times, he did well with it. At times, he struggled, kind of what you'd expect for a 19-year-old player. But the Wizards seem like they've been running him a lot more sets. They've had him coming off-ball pin downs and getting the basketball in his hands that way because you know he's talented with the basketball in his hands. He can make plays if you get him the ball. He doesn't have to be purely like a catch-and-shoot off-ball player. You just have to find ways to get him the basketball in his hands while he has some space to work with and let him get to a spot that way. And I think that's why Tre is coming along the way he is as well, AB.
And moving forward, this is a Tre Johnson that we're hoping isn't on a minute restriction because we all know the injury that he's been dealing with ever since his days at Texas. And him and Bub, I like how you said it, they can really feed off each other. And we're hoping to see more of this in the second half of the season because ideally these two guys are going to be the ones that, like you said, 7 combined threes against San Antonio. Remember the shooting competition that they had before the season started, man?
Yeah, that's right.
It's like small things like that it develops chemistry here, and maybe these two guys will be your leading three-point shooters for years to come.
I think it's a possibility. It's a good point, AB. Those guys arguably could be your 2 best three-point shooters right now, and they take a lot of pride in having that title. So hopefully we see competitions from those two for years to come. Let's take our first break. When we come back, let's play a game of buy or sell. I know the listeners love to play along with us, so join us for buy or sell. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. And it keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the games moves fast, and so can you. Time to play some buy or sell here on the Locked On Wizards podcast. It is, and I know usually the live chat or whoever that we have in the video premiere, they love to play along with us. So, AB, I'll kick it off with you, and I'll give you a tough one here to begin this one because this guy, a little bit of a tease right here, he remains on the injury report, questionable tomorrow, and it's Bilal Coulibaly who had the ankle sprain flare up. And buy or sell right now, Bilal Coulibaly's injuries will prevent him from ever developing into the offensive player that he hopes to be.
It's funny because I already knew it was going to be the Bilal, the first thing they were going to bring up, but I'm buying it, Ben. I think Bilal right now, it's just I always, not too long ago, I called him the most polarizing player on this Wizards squad because you see the talent there, the athleticism, defensively really great, the wingspan. However, offensively, it is year 3, Ben. Shout out to our guy, Greg Finberg, great supporter of the channel, puts out great Wizards content. I listened to his recent podcast, and he talked about how his three-point percentage has gotten worse from year to year. And in today's NBA, if you cannot shoot, it doesn't matter if you're 8'6", like 4'11". Ideally, you're a liability offensively. And for a Wizards team that's not going to be scoring or not going to be they're going to be giving up 130 points. They need offensive production right now. And for Bilal, I don't know when that jump's going to happen. I really don't. And the injuries, and it's different types of injuries as well, Ben. I don't know. I love the kid. I always go back to the fact that he was the first draft pick of the Will Dawkins era, so they see a lot of potential in him. But I go back to what I said about Bub Carrington. Availability is your best ability. It's a cliche, but there's a reason why it's a cliche. And it's
Yeah,
gotten frustrating.
I agree with you, and I don't know if I fully buy that the story is over for Bilal Coulibaly. I don't think it's done. I just like I said, like we give the same reasoning for a lot of these players and their struggles is because they're so young. Bilal is 21. So we have to keep that in mind that he's going to need a lot of time to develop into the player that he can be offensively. Like there's a big reason why Dawkins in the front office consistently alludes to the fact that he's still a couple years away from being the player they think he can be, and he has a lot of great tools to his game from his athleticism, but he's been unable to like put that all together in terms of his offensive qualities because he has a nice first step. And sometimes when you see him utilize that and get to the basket and punch it on someone's head, you go, like, I feel like this is the player Bilal Coulibaly could be. And, like, I don't know if I ever see it in terms of him becoming a 3-and-D style player because the three-point shot has just been as bad as it is. He's shooting 24% from three this season. He's regressed now to a career 30% three-point shooter, but it started off decently well. In his rookie season, it's continued to regress over the last 2 years, but the big reason why is because he hasn't been able to get in rhythm, and I can't really defend you if you're not on the court consistently. That's a big problem, and you had the injury to the thumb that kept him out at the end of the Eurobasket, kept him out the first week of the season, and maybe that impacts the way he's been shooting the basketball. Maybe he's favored it a little bit. Had the injury as well to the calf. Now you have the ankle sprain here. You had the oblique thing. Some of these injuries, like the oblique and the thumb thing, I wonder how much those actually have impacted the way he's shooting the basketball. Because the first night, I can't remember who they were playing. Maybe it was Philadelphia when he came up with that oblique injury. Something looked really wrong with his jumper that night, and maybe the injury was hampering him, and maybe those injuries have been hampering his jumper as a whole. But if he can't get healthy, period, then I don't know when we're going to see that development. That's the biggest problem. I know we've probably wasted way too much time here playing this game, just talking about it, so we can move on here in a second. But that's how I look at it. I don't think the story is over for Bilal, but it's an uphill battle from here on out.
It's a contract year as well, Ben, and we can make a whole video about Bilal, but you guys let us know in the comment section because, again, I put out a community post literally just stating the question, what are your thoughts on Bilal Coulibaly currently, in 40-plus comments, so let us know down below. Ben, buy or sell? Cam Whitmore will be part of this Wizards rotation for these next couple of games.
I'm selling that. Just he hasn't played in the last he was 4 DNPs before he came up on the injury report, and another tease to the preview for later. He still remains on the injury report with shoulder soreness. The organization has given no type of clarity where that injury occurred, what it is. When Bijan Todd asked Brian Keefe about it, he said, yes, the injury is he has some soreness in his shoulder. So he basically just gave a description of what shoulder soreness is. I don't know. It's odd that he has completely fallen out of favor in the rotation. Bijan asked him a good follow-up question saying, like, well, what does he need to do to get back into the rotation? And then he kind of went back to the same point saying, like, you know, it's nothing to do with him. Like, he'll get his opportunity soon. Like, we're just getting some looks at other guys. And like, I understand that. Like, they've held true to this whole idea of these guys getting different looks, like Jameer Watkins playing the minutes he has. He's played well. Will Riley getting looks. And those are things like I've been satisfied to see. But when you have a talent like Cam Whitmore, it is interesting to see the way he's fallen completely out of favor in the rotation. So I'm not selling the idea that he does find his way back into the rotation and we see some more of that talent flash at some point this year, because I don't want to close the book on Cam Whitmore. I still think there's a lot that you can unpack from this kid out of Maryland that comes back to play for his hometown team, all the talent that's there. I think there's a way that they can unlock it and he can be the player that everybody hopes he can be. I don't know when that time's going to be, but hopefully it's soon. I am selling the idea that he comes back into the rotation here, though, this next week or so. I think it might be longer than that, AB.
Yeah, I'm selling as well, Ben. I think right now, if you can't find a way to get in the rotation of a young Wizard squad that's trying to find their cornerstone pieces of his franchise, when will you get it right? Because this is a second chance of his career, essentially. A lot of people writing him off after Houston and how it ended over there. Maybe moving forward, ideally for me going into the season, it was seeing him in the 6-man role, microwave scorer like you always allude to. But if he really can't find minutes on a team that is desperately trying to find guys that can go out there and score because this team gives up on average 129 to 130 points a game, then I don't know what team will he be able to play in, because this is also a rebuilding team. I'm rooting for him because he has a big fan base, like you mentioned, from the area. Grew up a Wizards fan, but if it's just him holding himself back, then maybe he has to look himself in the mirror.
I don't know. It's just really tough to discuss it, to create this dialogue about it, because we don't really know what's happening behind the scene, and we don't really have a lot of clarity from the organization of what's truly happening here. So it's something we'll continue to monitor. We'll give more information on this podcast as it becomes available, and if he does find his way back in the rotation, then we'll cover that and see where it goes from there. I'm definitely rooting for Cam Whitmore, so hopefully we see him get back into the rotation. But if he's not in the rotation, we got to see other guys step up, and we've seen that at times over the last 2 weeks or so. So hopefully that can continue from Will Riley and Jameer Watkins as well. Real quick before we hit the break, buy or sell, the Wizards would regret trading Corey Kispert if he is dealt at the deadline.
That's a good one, Ben, because before he had those games, like 20-plus points in the poster against Chicago, I would think that Corey Kispert being gone would be a big boost for this Wizards squad because you let the young guys play. But the way he was hooping before he got hurt and the three-point shooting, I mean, he was on fire in that Atlanta game, and you won that first NBA Cup game in Wizards history. Regret? I mean, it depends, though, Ben, because the draft capital that you get in return for him, I would have to look at that. It depends on that. Honestly, I'd say sell, because I still think the main idea of the season is developing young talent, and Corey Kispert essentially wasn't a Will Dawkins draft pick and is older out of the young group that we have here. It's not, I don't think it's gonna be an indictment on Will Dawkins in this organization if they trade him and he looks good on a different team, because it just goes back to the main message, and that's just let the young guys play. And with Kispert being gone, hopefully it gives more minutes for Jameer Watkins and Will Riley.
You know, real quick, I'll get my thoughts on, because we got to get to the break. I am almost warming up to the idea that they might regret it, but I do think there's some real value there for Corey Kispert, because I think he'd be a super valuable player to a playoff team to bring a guy off the bench that can score the basketball at all three levels the way he can, because Corey Kispert's just a really good player, and I think it took me a lot longer to realize it, but this year has given me kind of a new light, a new perspective on Corey Kispert. I like him a lot. I've really liked actually what he's been doing since he got hurt. He's one of the most vocal players on that team, and even you see him in the street clothes, he's up there at the front of the bench on the court, like instructing guys, giving words of encouragement. Corey Kispert's been a really good piece to have actually on this rebuilding team, even though he's not an old player whatsoever. So I would miss the guy if they trade him, but if they got an offer that they couldn't turn down, I would definitely understand it. Let's get to our last break here. When we come back, let's preview Wizards Hornets. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself to expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. I feel like I've already given the state secrets away about the Wizards injury report throughout the entirety of this episode, but I'll give you the official injury report right now. Corey Kispert with the thumb fracture is off the Wizards injury report, and he's expected to make his return tomorrow against the Charlotte Hornets. So he missed around 2.5 to 3 weeks with the injury. So we just talked about Corey Kispert. It's going to be good to see him back in the lineup, and it becomes a new question, who's going to lose minutes in the situation, because Corey Kispert's definitely going to be a guy that's in the rotation for this team. Are they going to continue to play really deep, like 10 to 11 guys out of the rotation, or is somebody going to actually see their minutes cut down in this situation? That remains to be seen. I guess we'll figure that out tomorrow. The only person listed as out is Cam Whitmore, with the shoulder soreness once again. So another interesting development with the whole Whitmore thing is, once again, shoulder soreness. He's already listed out of the game. Marvin Bagley with calf soreness. So I'm using the word soreness here because that's the injury that Whitmore has with the shoulder as well. He is questionable. He missed the last game. Bilal Coulibaly is also questionable for this game with the ankle sprain. So hopefully you're going to get Bilal back here to take on this Hornets team, and that obviously packs a lot of super young talent, a really stacked rookie class that's coming out of the they call it, what do they call it? The Charm City now? Is that what they call Charlotte?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't even know. Charm City's Baltimore, so
It
is.
is?
I don't know what I'm trying to remember as Charlotte's mantra. I'll double check on that.
They're irrelevant, Ben. It doesn't matter. We're the better team, remember?
It's fine, but it's good to see Kispert come back. Do you think the Wizards are going to continue to play 10 to 11 deep in the rotation here and just add Corey Kispert back to that, AB?
Honestly, with Brian Keefe's rotation, the inconsistency, maybe potentially. I always go back to the fact that he loves his vets, so he'll give Corey Kispert minutes. He's back, and he was producing before he got hurt. We'll just have to see if this Hornets team, Con Knipple, Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball, they have a nice young big man. They have a good amount of pieces that can go out there and give you 120 to 140 points a game. Yeah, it's going to be a track meet. You have to be able to run with the squad. Hopefully to see another good performance from Bub and Tre. Alex Sarr being back is a huge help because we saw Anthony Gill and Jameer Watkins, JC. Everyone was getting thrown at trying to guard Wembanyama, Ben. So having a guy like Alex Sarr who can protect the rim will definitely help you out. And just overall, seeing the injury report limited to 3 to 4 guys, it's a sigh of relief because the injury report when we were in the media room, Ben, it was 10. It was a whole roster, for Christ's sake. So that's one thing to be happy about. And the Wizards-Hornets rivalry, Ben, I know not many people want to call it a rivalry because none of the teams are actually good. You can call it the Tank Bowl rivalry, however you want to say it. But we'll see. I mean, LaMelo Ball, him wanting to be out, I don't even know, Ben, that ended up being not true, right?
He says it's not true. I don't know if that really means a whole lot, but maybe we'll see something cook up here down the stretch. I saw the Hornets actually linked by some credible sources to potentially being interested in Sabonis. Charlotte's elite offensively. They're really, really good offensively. Probably one of the better teams on offense in the Eastern Conference. Con Knipples provided a whole new dynamic to them. He looks like he might be the Rookie of the Year. As it stands right now, he has stood out in a big way. Sion James has been great for them. Kalkbrenner has been awesome at the center position for them. They have a lot of young talent. It just hasn't really translated to wins, and I don't know if that's because they're just inexperienced, they're just young. Is LaMelo Ball the problem that makes them not win? I don't know, because I get a lot of the comments and people that will tell me LaMelo Ball doesn't translate to winning basketball, and it really hasn't for his career. So maybe that is the case there. By the way, to correct myself, I meant to say the Queen City.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I'm a DC guy, so I'm not gonna say I'm an expert on Baltimore is the Charm City. I know that. I'll wear that on the chin there. That was stupid of me to call it Charlotte.
I just went along because I didn't know either.
Yeah, it's the Queen City. I knew it was something like that, so just to correct myself on that point there. But yeah, it's just interesting because the Wizards are such an awful team defensively, and Charlotte has been very good offensively this season. How it's going to stack up in this type of matchup in this game. It's good that you're going to get a lot of these guys back, like Alex Sarr. Hopefully you do get Bagley back, although he's questionable. Kispert comes back. You're going to have to score plenty to compete with these guys. And, we wanted to see competitiveness the way we did last night. For the fact that you have 8 guys on your injury report and a whole bunch of your key pieces, especially in the front court, not playing yesterday, was a pretty respectable performance against a very formidable San Antonio team. So hopefully you see something like that continue. And just remember, the Wizards dominated the first half against Charlotte in the first matchup, and then they gave up 81 points in the second half. So hopefully you don't see anything like that, because the Wizards have given up 80-plus in a half 3 times this year already. So you'd ideally like to not see that happen again, AB.
You have to find a way to limit LaMelo Ball. You saw what he did in that first game in Capital One. I mean, he's a walking triple-double, and people question his style of play, but if he can go out there and put the ball in the hoop, who cares how he plays? He's balling. And maybe it doesn't result to winning basketball, but when he plays against the Wizards, it's winning basketball. And I think Brandon Miller Knipple, a guy who loves to shoot it from the outside. Defensive matchups, it's going to be interesting to see who, if Bilal hopefully plays. He'll probably be guarding LaMelo, and Knipple versus Trey Johnson. That's going to be a fun matchup as well. A lot of fun headlines going into this game. And you just got to come out. Obviously, ideally, we want to win, but be competitive. The Spurs game and this past weekend in general, going 1-1, going toe-to-toe, essentially, losing 10, 11 points. Maybe you don't want to call it toe-to-toe, but you were competitive against a Western Conference threat without a lot of your key players. I'll take that. And seeing Jameer Watkins, JC, any of the guys that are 1 foot short trying to guard Wemby, you love the effort, and you're hoping you see more of that going into Charlotte.
Yeah, let's continue stacking some decent performances. Today I was on the B. Mitch and Finley show, and I said they were playing actually a lot better to their standard that they had been playing at early in the season. And Brian Mitchell and JP Finley, they were giving me crap, saying like, dude, you can't really like mention that they won 4 games in the last 10 as a stat. I said, look, it's a different type of standard for this team. Like, given the expectation and the way they played when they lost 14 games in a row, that is like a massive stride. They have improved in various different ways. You're starting to see some different aspects of meaningful development, some key contributions from young guys, and that's what's most important about this Wizards team. So hopefully we continue to see that. Let us know what you guys think about today's video, about the idea of Bub and Tre being your starting backcourt the rest of the way. Will we see that happen before the trade deadline? I don't know about that, but hopefully we can see something like that happen. Maybe CJ McCollum will take a back seat at some point eventually soon. Give us your answers to our buy or sell questions, and then let us know some of your thoughts that we had there as well. We thank everybody for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. Be sure to check out the link in our show notes about joining the Everydayer Club. You get Discord access, you get access to ad-free content. It's the best way to do it. It's cheap, $5 per month, $50 per year. Join the Everydayer Club if you're an everydayer that watches the channel every single day with us. For my co-host, Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober. I'll talk to you later, DC family.